sure seemed like a lot of the justices on either side of the ideological spectrum were not.
They were, yes,
we're not convinced of this.
Right. So there are what's called facial challenges to a statute, where you say this there is no set of circumstances in which this statute is constitutional. And then there's as applied challenges where you say, well, the statute's constitutional, maybe in some applications, but not for my client. And the justices seem to be in a consensus that Rahimi was not going to win a facial challenge.
All right, and so I guess just to wrap everything up here, where do you see things going with this case? I know you don't have to get into too much specifics. I know, as we've emphasized a number of times, oral arguments can't tell you everything about where the court's going to come down. But how do you see it playing out? Where do you see things going from here? What are you looking for?
Well, I think we have a good chance of getting a decision sooner than the last week of the court's term, because the court, in its sort of normal ecological cycle of when the briefs were due, ordinarily would have had this case orally argued in early December, and they moved it up to have it orally argued in early November. So I think that's a sign they want to get this done. So I'll make a tentative prediction that we'll get a decision on this before June of next year. I think the result of the case will be that Rahimi will lose individually, but I'll tentatively predict that it's not going to be a bad decision for the Second Amendment overall, and that the Supreme Court decision will explain in a more narrow and focused way why it's okay to disarm people like Rahimi without signing on to the very broad theories advanced by the Solicitor General that the Congress can define anything it wants as a dangerous category, and then everybody is just stuck with that congressional decision.
Interesting. All right. Well, we'll have to look and see what the court does when it hands down its opinion. Personally, I think it's a pretty reasonable take. That's where I would come down on it as well. I'll be really interested to see what they do with those other two cases that you mentioned, Range and Daniels. I think that'll say a lot about what they're going to do in Rahimi if we get news on that before Rahimi's opinion comes out, which I guess is not a guarantee either. So, the court, you can't really know until they do something what they're going to do. But we really appreciate you coming on and giving us this recap, sharing some expertise on this after oral arguments. It's the next big it's the next Second Amendment case they've taken. But this is only the seventh one they've ever done, right? Second Amendment case in their entire history of the Supreme Court. Right?
1, 2, 3, 4.
If I'm counting correct. Is it Miller, Heller, McDonald, Saitano, which I count?
Right.
Presser, so maybe sixth?
Presser and Cruikshank before that.
Oh, yeah, that's true. I guess so.
Yeah.
But anyway, people don't think of those ones, but that's true.
They haven't done a lot. And that's
compared to the First Amendment, right?
That's right. And then, Justice Thomas and Gorsuch and Scalia in the years after McDonald and before Bruen complained a lot that, look, we do First Amendment cases all the time, we do Fourth Amendment cases all the time, and it's kind of ridiculous that we haven't done any. We're not helping the lower courts more on Second Amendment issues. So I think we're perhaps moving to the Second Amendment continuing to become a normal part of the Constitution, where the court does one or more Second Amendment cases every term.